if a method has a return type, we normally assign, when we are calling that method, we normally assign that method to a variable name of that same type. But if it's void, we just do whatever we want to do with it. So let's hope we won't have to use this quite a lot, but you'll be using it also. So I just thought to show us that. So if I do this now, it should print out the name of every list of students I have added here, and then also do this, my name is whatever name of the students. So let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. So it throws Ben, my name is Ben, Joy, my name is Joy, Chuka, my name is Chuka, just like we told it to do here. Sometimes you have to return every property of that element. It depends on whatever you are using at a point in time. For example, you can only have, for example, if you're a student registering, you can see all your details, but someone that works in the health center doesn't need to see the amount of school fees you paid. So you can decide to not show that for the person. Does not have to see your character. They're only concerned about probably blood type, genotype, height, weight, and all those kind of data. So you can decide which one shows where and how. So the reason why I actually showed us this was because we'll use it now when we go to the graphical user interface. This is where we are going now, and I hope we'll have fun with it. So what I will do now is start a new instance of Visual Studio. Okay. Now, the graphical user interface, it's just like the interface for this, just this graphical user interface. Even though every click action that happens runs a command on the system, the aim for graphical interface was to make computers easier to use as this went by. If we're in the 1980s, it was simply typing on some odd black window somewhere on the white background. But these days we can always click and then an action is done for us. So what happens now is that I go on and create a new project. Please follow this step by step. I have options. I can create a Windows Forms application. It's not really that to use anymore, so we wouldn't bother about it. When I was learning programming, I didn't spend much time on it. So WPF is what we will do. Now, a good understanding of HTML will come to play here. Even though this is not HTML that I'll be writing, it's somewhat related to HTML. But don't worry, don't be scared. It is fun to learn. So WPF simply means Windows Presentation Foundation. Windows Presentation Foundation. So you design the user interface and you have a C# code at the end that does the actions on the user interface. So I go on and say, let me give this a name. Let me call this students registration. Remember, I selected WPF application in C#. So my project is creating. Now you see something different than what you've been seeing before once this is done. Welcome. So I'm waiting for the designer to finish loading. Now the concept of user interface is that the actions you do when you click a button, what happens at the end in the C# is an event. Just like when I call you, my event was calling you and then your response was answering. If I do this, it's an event that happened because I can see it. So basically everything that happens on the graphical interface is an event. So let me walk us through this beautiful screen. Down here you have your design code. Don't worry, you can do drag and drop of user interface designs. So on the left hand side here you have your toolbox. I'll go ahead and pin that here. And then in the toolbox, I can now have controls. I will not be able to go through all of this. I will only pick a few to use. So you have your button, you have checkbox, you have combo box, you have data grid, you have image, label, on and on like that. So these are the most common ones people use. That's why it's grouped under common WPF controls. And then this is every WPF control that came inside here. You can have custom ones designed if you so wish. Okay, so the first thing we will do is say hello. Say hello word in WPF. It should be fun. For beginner's sake, I will not write the code. All I will do is drag and drop. And you will see the code being generated for us. So I pick a button from here. I drag it to the user interface. And then you can see that down here, the button code has been created for us. I can go ahead and add another button. No, button. So I go ahead and add another button. See the difference? So I have the button, and then I drag it to the user interface. Then another code is created for me. The same way I can drag it here is actually the same way I can drag that inside the code block. Let's say I know where exactly I want to put it, but this will cause trouble, so let's not worry about it. Now, depending on your preference, you can decide to be a drag and drop designer or a coding designer. For me, I prefer coding. So, because really the dragging and dropping takes a lot of time for me, so we can decide to bring this button here and bring this one here so that it aligns properly, all along like that. So as you keep on using this, you get familiarized with it. It's not a one-day thing. Let me delete this other button. So what I want to do is I will have a button. I'm trying to bring this to the center of the page. Do I have equal length on the right hand side and the left hand side? I really cannot tell because I don't have this. But instead of doing this, I can go in the code and say horizontal alignment equals center, and then I remove all margins because I really don't need it. But this code will be there for you by default, so you don't just worry about it. So right now I need to fit all this here. So you can see that our button is in the center of the screen now. The next thing I want to do is add a label inside here.
Wait, did you change the vertical?
Yeah, I change it to center.
What else did you change?
Horizontal alignment. Then I remove the margins. Now, if you don't want to code this, there is a properties window you can always use. For example, if I right click on this, I think. No. Okay. On this right hand pane, you have properties. When you click on a control, you have properties that you can edit instead of having to deal with the code down here. So what you can do is you click on this control you want to edit. Hold on. You click on the control, then you can set everything. What do you want to be the content of the button? We call it say hello. Say hello. Then we see the content change here, and the code also changes. But don't worry about the code just yet. Let's just be doing drag and drop. So I will need to add an event to it. So add an event to this button. All I need to do is say double click this. Then we will see the C# code show up for us. Double click this button. Oh, sorry. My double clicking skill has gone very bad. I double click the button, then it goes ahead and creates the event that we'll do. We can see here it's looking quite a bit not what we're used to. Now this code right here says private void, but remember void returns nothing, but it does every action inside it. So it does object, sender events, whatever. Don't worry about this right now. What it simply means is Don't let's worry about this. And don't let's worry about this. So the rooted event args, depending on the control, the event args, whatever you see here, changes. So, but once you right click it the right way, now there are a series of events you can always do on any control. The default event of a button is a click. Default event of a list box is to select. Default event of a checkbox is check. On and on like that. You can have as many events as that. So if I go back to my design view and I right click this to see the possible events for any control on this properties window, you see this lightning bolt here. I told you there are events yesterday. So if I click here, I should see all the list of possible events that can happen to this control. I have a click, context menu closing, drag, drop, leave, got focus. There are plenty. But this is most times the default that we use, just click. Sometimes you have to deal with this when you get more advanced, of course. But right now, the default event for a button is a click. And then you go ahead and so I go back to my backend. So we now have two interfaces now. One for design, one for code. Are we getting on? One for design, one for code. So you can see that this design place has an extension called XAML. But we call it XAML. XAML, whatever name you can call it. It simply means extended application markup language. It's a design language by Microsoft. So design user interface for Microsoft products basically. So what it's related to XML in a way, because everything here, every code here follows an order. So you have the window, which is the old screen. Then you have the grid, the one inside the window here. Then you have the button, the one we just added. But these controls, they keep on, as we start using them, you get used to them. Let's see. I think I have a video series on the UI design using WPF. I will try to give us also. So what I want to do now is add a label. I add a label to my user interface. I add it just on top of the hello button here. And then I go ahead and give it a name. So to give it a name, you can decide to do that up here. Let's call this my label. And then let's move out of this event place and then set the properties. The contents, well, let's change the background color for this. Let's change the background color to say red. We can define the width. We can just say extend this part here, extend this part here. Even though this is not best practice, but just to show what I want to show us, I will do that for today. And then I can do every other kind of thing here. I can change the appearance of it. I can change the opacity, the effect. You understand this as time goes by. I've given it a name, right? So the name is my label. So what happens is sorry, my hand is a little clumsy. So when I click this button, I want an event to occur. I want to say hello in that label that I created. Remember, I've given it a name. So all I have to do is say my label dot remember properties. So my label dot text, it's not text in this one, it's the content. The content of my label should be hello world from WPF. So what happens is that when I click the button, the content of that label changes, because I've said that my label does content. What basically happens is that when we are doing this XAML, classes are being created on our behalf. Instance of the label class was created. It gave it a name. So once we set the name, it's probably label, my label is equal to a new instance of label. The code that is being generated for us, but we don't have to worry about that. C#, the Visual Studio is handling that for us, or so we don't have to worry. So we say, so it will probably be label, my label is equal to new label. Then we say my label dot name. Okay, it will now be, to continue now, it will now be in the shape that says my label dot content is equal to this. So we can say, yeah, instead of having to design it, we can decide to say, let's say label, another label is equal to a new instance of label. We can do it this way, but which one will be easier? We say another label dot height equals this. When we can just do it in the user interface. This is very cumbersome, really. That's why the user interface is there. We can do every user interface we did in XAML in C#, but it's weird. It's not that easy anymore when you have to do a lot of designs. That's why XAML was introduced. So once we run this, so it goes ahead and builds the project, and then should run any moment from now. I go ahead and click say hello, and then we can see right here hello world from the BPF. So if I wanted, we can close this window now. We can change the title of this window. You realize it's only showing main window as the title. We can decide to give it another name. We can decide to give it another title. So we can say go back to the design view and then change the title of this window. Say hello world. Hello the BPF. And then we can decide that the size of this window when it starts up should be maximized. All we have to do that, we make sure this window is selected, and then on the properties side, I think it should be somewhere down here. So I think it should be in window state, minimized or maximized. So the maximized means it's in full screen. So once I do this and I run, this program will run in full screen mode. So you can just play around it. Now you see everything is just structured all around the place. That's why I prefer to code my user interface. But let's just try to do this and see what happens on our own systems before we go into